Hi, y'all. Welcome to Grad Missions Office Hours. I'm Autumn Luckett, founder and CEO of Grad Missions.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisanne Carlson, and I work with our law clients here at Grad Missions.
Hi, I'm Morgan Hager, and I work with our law clients at Grad Missions as well.
Hi, I'm Logan Lockhart, and I am working with our med clients at Grad Missions.
Speaking of those little med clients, I wanted to take today to really talk about their end goal. Whether they're going MD or DO, or they're thinking about one of those two, their ultimate end goal is a successful match experience, which we just experienced. Match week was well, no, it was 2 weeks ago. And it's always a chaotic, fun, cry your mascara off kind of week because people who have been working for 14 years to get to this point finally see the total fruits of their labor. They know where they're going to be doing their residency and they know what the specialty is. And the process itself is sort of a mystery. And so I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about what matches. I'm always surprised when I meet with prospective clients and their families, how many of them don't even know what match is? It's a little bit unfathomable to me that you would enter this process and not even ultimately know what the end goal was. And so let's just take the mystery out of it.
Okay, I'm
The way my
excited.
so yeah, the way my socials are situated, it's all these match videos, and I'm crying, and I don't really even understand, but you can just tell the relief on, and excitement of not only the people opening that envelope, but their support system behind them. It's just so beautiful. And then Logan and Autumn, you shared pictures from going to match day, and it's just also exciting. But me being on the other side of the table, it's exciting, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So could you all explain what match is for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, I feel like we have to also talk about the complicated emotions that happen during match week
Yeah.
across the
Yep.
spectrum. It isn't all rainbows and sunshine for sure for several different reasons for students. Even if you did match, there are some complicated emotions involved. But let's start back at the beginning of match. Match is kind of the culmination of your time in med school. You start the match process in, let's say, June before your fourth year of med school. That's when ERAS opens. Some people call it ERAS. I couldn't do that because I was at a med school when Taylor Swift was on her ERAS tour, and there was too much confusion.
This is not the same as that.
This is not the same as that.
Okay.
Maybe this is also like a regional dialect
Mm.
that in,
Or dear.
Midwest Southern, we call it ERAS.
There we go.
That is what is it? Electronic Residency Application System.
That sounds good
Again,
to me. Which
what medicine lacks in creativity, it makes up for in specificity. I will say that again.
That's exactly it. If so, just speedy quick, jumping in as the person who wants grad missions to be in your ears. If you're a third year med student, did you hear what Logan just said? That your application opens in June? Y'all, that's 60 days from now, from when we're recording this. It's even closer. Time is ticking. And if that makes a flutter in your stomach, you need to book a strategy call with me so we can make a plan.
That's a really great point. I also love working on residency applications. So just putting another plug in there, that's one of my favorite things to do. Lizanne?
I was just going to say, and if you've been working with grad missions before med school, doesn't that alleviate some of the panic come June because you have so much already in your portfolio and that you're thinking about that can help you fill out that ERAS application?
You nailed
I
it.
wanted to say it right. Okay.
I bet
Yeah.
you could even put more of a Southern twist on it. Like, I bet you could really draw out that A.
If anyone
Uh,
could, Lizanne could.
Thank you. If there's anything I can do in the med world, it's mispronounce what it's. Um, but yes, it's just kind of putting a plug for that. I'm seeing that now with the not turnover, but the flow into the residency portion that we offer at Grad Missions. There's just you've done so much of the bulk of the work, so there isn't that panic in that third year.
That's
I
right.
mean, obviously it's still stressful, but yeah,
That's
okay.
right.
What
And
all's
that's
included in that application? Like, what all do you have to have for ERAS?
Yeah. So, kind of extending on the plug that Autumn just gave, even if you are a pre-med student who has been accepted to a med school, a first year med student, somewhere in that process, I think still booking a strategy call because that was one of the most common questions I discussed with first year med students is like, how and where do I get started? And I need research yesterday. So having this be part of your strategy from day one, I used to think was dramatic. But honestly, after years of doing this, I think it's not wrong. So book that strategy call. So what goes into the application? It is not dissimilar from the AMCAS application. It's not dissimilar from the application that helps you apply to medical school. I mean, you need activities and experiences. If you have publications, we're putting that on there, any honors and awards, scholarships, things like that. Um, you need letters of recommendation from faculty members. You need
A personal statement.
a personal statement, yes.
Is this personal statement, do you recommend it be different than the one you have worked on through Grad Missions? I assume yes.
I think there can be elements, but it should be more specialty focused. There should at least be a mention of why you're pursuing the specialty that you're pursuing.
Okay.
A maturation of your medical goals.
Mm-hmm.
You're also submitting your USMLE one pass fail or two scores in your medical school transcript. You're also submitting what they call it's called an MSPE, medical school. No, don't got it. MSPE. People call it a dean's letter. And that is written by your school. It's standardized. Every school puts essentially the same information into a dean's letter. It has like a summary of how you did on your third year clerkships. If your school does quartiles, it tells your quartile that you were in after second year, which would be after your preclinical work, and then your final quartile after your clinical work as well as a statement about professionalism, saying that you met the standards, hopefully.
Y'all, this is a great place to pause really quick and talk about professionalism in
Okay.
med school. Y'all, I don't know if med talk can survive this. I really don't. Have any of you seen Nick Baumel, his TikTok happenings, and what happened to him in Match?
Now we have.
Yeah.
We paused for a minute so everyone could take a quick look.
Yeah.
If you don't know Nick Baumel, he was I'm using the past tense, bless him, was a medfluencer who decided to take things a little farther than he had taken it in the past with his parody videos and got his um, medical school status rescinded on match day. He's a fourth year. And the internet is a little bit divided on whether or not that was the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, I just cannot imagine putting in the kind of work. And he was at Mayo too. So like, I mean, it's not nothing. Like he was going places. And I think there is a path to recovery for him. I think Nick, if you need a plan, holler. But I do think it's something for you to be thinking about while you're in med school that you are going to need a letter. Like getting into med school, you're like, phew, we're good to go. No, like for the duration of your life, your professionalism matters, even when you're in practice. It's just med and law both have a lot of ethics around them, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
And so being aware of the way that your social life, both on purpose and otherwise, impacts that is so important.
And that shows that once that dean letter is written, you still have to be professional.
That's right. An ongoing duty to report.
Yes.
Mhm.
It honestly just makes me nauseous to think about. I mean,
That's insane.
if that was one of the students that I had been working with, poor judgment, of course, but at a medical school, you're getting to know these people inside and out, through good times and bad. And this is heartbreaking for everybody, for him, for his support system, for the school, for the residency program he matched into. I mean, there are no winners in this
There are
situation.
the patients,
Everyone lost.
yeah, the patients who are already timid about this kind of healthcare who now feel like they're going to be made fun of if they go in. Like it's damage everywhere. So it didn't mean to sidetrack us. It's a topical situation. It's not often you see med school entering like the news scene, but he's been in headlines.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that too, because I kind of offhandedly said the professionalism statement on the dean's letter as if, well, everybody just gets a check off on professionalism, but we
No,
know that that's not true.
you know
So,
that's not true.
okay, so you put together your application. It opens in June. You have until the end of September to submit it. Then it goes out to all the programs in the specialty that you applied to, and you start getting interview offers, which is the Hunger Games. I remember sitting in my office having a conversation with a student, and then all of a sudden, I'll try to describe this for the listener, but for the person watching this on YouTube, I mean, it was truly mid-sentence. You hear a faint technology ding in the background. Somebody immediately reaches down, digs out their laptop in their backpack, throws the backpack away, opens the laptop, opens their email, starts typing away, closes the laptop, and says, "Oh, sorry, that was me getting an interview offer."
Yes. Yes.
So it's there's it the process isn't less chaotic at that point in time. It's still, work as fast as you can, because if you don't reply immediately, they will give that interview spot to somewhere else,
They will.
depending on what specialty and what program you're applying
So
to.
when you say that it's due in September, but sounds like it's kind of a first come, first serve, should you have your application materials in earlier, or is that doesn't matter? It's
That
once
Well,
that close
letting
date
letting
happens.
them marinate matters, right?
Okay.
Like not trying to last minute them in September, but everyone hits submit at the same time.
Okay.
Yes, and it's viewable to all programs at the same time.
Okay.
And there really is not a preference for, I'm sure within the program director's portal you could see what time they submitted it, but that's not important. You actually might not even be able to see that. It's viewable to all programs at the same time. So this is one case where it really doesn't matter how early you get it done. You should certainly leave yourself a few days, because ERAS notoriously has technology problems. So
Mhm.
don't leave it for the last second. This is like what you learned in high school or college, where it's not your professor's fault that, you didn't click submit on desire to learn or something like that.
That's right.
Okay. What else do we need to talk about related to this? Okay, so you get interview offers, hopefully. That
What's
goes,
an average number of interview offers that you get?
It depends how many you applied to.
Okay.
yeah, it depends on how many you applied to. It depends on your specialty. Um,
Do some people just apply to one? Surely not.
that would be a terrible idea.
Okay.
Mhm.
That would be, I know we've equated this to Greek life on more than one occasion, but that would be you go to two houses on pref night and then you only list one on on your form.
It's referred to as
Um,
suicide, right?
yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yes. I didn't know if we could use that word, but
Yeah,
yes,
I'll allow it.
probably
And
true.
it also is not unusual for someone to cross apply. So maybe you are leaning toward this specialty, but you're still thinking about this other one, or you want to have a backup plan. There are definitely cases where an applicant, that's why it matched, they're so surprised. Like no one knows where they're going to go, but sometimes people are actually finding out what specialty they'll be going into because they've cross applied.
That
Wow.
common to cross apply?
I mean, it's part of a strategy, depending
Okay.
on what
Just
your
to be able
stats
to
are.
match.
Yes, depending on where, what your stats are. If you have, there are people married with children who are applying to match, who have like high stakes in this process
Sure.
of trying to stay close to family, or their spouse has a job or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so,
They're
you
dual
know,
applying, a couple applying
yes,
together.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, couples match. That's its own special
It
type
is.
of
Yeah.
Wow.
terrible. But
Tell us how
so
you really feel, Logan.
it is, it's awful. I mean, it just talk about making a hard situation harder. We used to kind of categorize students as red, yellow, green in terms of like mass or match risk or risk of not matching. So red would be like you're at a high risk of not matching. So we need to be very strategic here. Green is we think you're going to match somewhere, based on what your stats are. And then yellow is we need to be careful with selection of programs and things like that. We would always immediately put students doing couples match in the yellow category. It did not matter. They could have been first quartile, loads of research and experience, we were still putting them in yellow because that's just, it's hard to do.
It is.
It's hard to get one match spot,
Yes.
let alone two.
Yes. Yes.
So
This may be common knowledge, but what are the most competitive to match with? And then what are ones that are safer options, I guess, would be the.
I actually have an interesting statistic about this
Of course.
because I would have actually had a different answer.
It changes a
Um,
little bit year to year. And, like
Okay.
COVID really impacted emergency medicine. Like we've seen these numbers shift and change some, as the landscape changes.
yeah. So, I think dermatology is always going to be difficult to match into orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, things like that. One that I actually never had on the list that I think I probably should have had on the list of selective or difficult to match into programs is actually med peds. So
Mm.
that's a specialty where you're doing internal medicine and pediatrics. And I saw this statistic on the NRMP for the 2026 match that med peds offered 404 positions across the country. That is not very many. They actually offered six more than in 2025. They
Wow.
achieved a 100% fill rate.
Yeah,
Every one of those 404 spots was filled. Now that's competitive.
that's very competitive. Yep.
And then primary care typically they have so many spots to fill, first of all, um, and or have more latitude for what type of statistics they might be looking for. Lower USMLE scores, lower quartile. They don't require as much research as some of the other specialties. So I would say those are the two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. And there are some statistics around this. I, of course, don't have them because I'm not Logan, but I don't live in match data. That's why we have her and her team here to help. But there are not only specialties that are harder to fill, there are locations that are harder to fill. And so sometimes, like, some of our residency clients, boy, their offers, if they had gone residency program rated a little higher in a more rural place, their their pay was a lot higher. So they do get paid during residency. That's another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Can you talk about that a little bit, Logan?
It's even just the benefits that different residency programs offer, health benefits, vacation time, how much vacation time you're offered. You are offered a salary. I have seen it range anywhere from like 50,000 a year, maybe to 70,000 a year, which, you know, to someone who's worked in education her whole life is big money. But I know that that's not necessarily the case for someone who has, $400,000 in debt or something like that.
Sure.
Um, but that is something to consider when you're working on your application and selecting programs is what type of benefits, um, how much research availability do you have in terms of time to get research done? If you think you want to apply to a fellowship, conducting that research during your residency is pretty important.
Yeah.
That's probably a whole podcast topic on itself of what type
Fellowship.
of, yeah, fellowships and what type of residency programs to look for. In terms of strategy, too, if you are someone who is maybe knows you have a few red flags on your application or a few weak areas or something like that, being strategic with your school list. If I have seen really successful students not match simply because on their program list that they applied to, they just outkicked their coverage. Like they were shooting for something that it just they had too many stretches and not enough strong or safety
Yeah.
type of
Not un
programs.
not unlike the med school application process itself. I mean, we talk all the time about current clients and potential clients who sometimes we don't end up working with because they say, I'm going to apply MD only, and this is my GPA. It's barely above a 3 point. My MCAT is, a 508, and I'm only applying to, top 30 research universities for MD. There's nothing we can do. That's not going to happen. Like it's just not going to happen. But if you are willing to be a little more flexible with your school list, throw some DOs in there, throw some more, lower ranked schools. If you're willing to retake the MCAT, get more research hours, patient hours, those kind of things. There are things you can do. What are those factors for residency? Like how do you make yourself competitive for residency?
So I think in terms of your program selection, if you, so academic institutions are going to be the most competitive.
Mhm.
So tied to a university of some kind. Community programs are less competitive, depending on kind of where you are, like a community hospital that takes residents. I will say, I think a strategy to consider is if you are concerned about being able to match, applying to programs that accept a lot of what we call IMG students. Those are international medical students. They can either be US citizens who have attended an international medical program or international students who have attended an international medical program and want to match in the United States. Looking at programs that are IMG friendly, so they often accept a lot of those students, they're going to be very friendly towards US medical students who have attended US programs.
Okay. Such a
There,
good
there's some
indicator.
caveats there, obviously, which we could discuss more at some point, but that is, I think that's part of a strategy personally to consider that in the programs you're applying to.
Mhm.
So what happens if you don't match? Do you find out on that match day that you don't match,
Morgan,
or
thank
are
you for
you
bringing us
warned?
back. Yes. Okay. So you've interviewed October to maybe January, February, maybe you're going to some like second look days where maybe you get invited to actually go to the program. A lot of the interviews are on Zoom. Back in the day before COVID, they were not on Zoom. You would actually go to the place, but we all know you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Nope.
So now a lot of them are Zoom, but then you do have the opportunity to go. You submit your rank order list in February. So that is where you yourself are ranking the programs that you interviewed at in terms of where you would like to go the most. By the way, the strategy on your rank order list is that you genuinely rank where you would like to go the most.
Yes.
There is no hidden strategy. You truly just need to rank your preference.
Yes.
And then the programs do the same. And then in March, generally the third week of March, on that Monday, you get an email at I think 9 o'clock Central um, that tells you if you matched or not.
Binary, yes or no. That's all you know.
Yes. So on that Monday of match week, you find out, yes, I matched or no, I did not match. If yes, you matched, hooray. You are spending the rest of the week probably partying with your classmates in some way, shape, or form. That takes a variety. It could be axe throwing, it could be a brewery, it could be a family day at the zoo. There are so many options for what you can do on match day. If you have questions, please email me. I have many ideas.
Yes.
Um,
Recall the professionalism comments from earlier, though, please.
no,
Don't put them on TikTok.
I'm open. I don't judge. It's a private email. I'll keep it private.
Sure.
Um, and then if you find out you did not match on that Monday, that is when some intense work begins for you and your student affairs office. So you'd probably be gathered either over Zoom or in person with your student affairs staff to discuss what happens next. And so what happens next is at the same time that you get that email, there's also a published list of all the programs that did not fill all of their positions initially. And so you go back to the drawing board through
It's called SOAP.
yes. Uh, you go back to the drawing board through SOAP and you might be switching specialties. Like it's that SOAP is nobody's first plan. Students do not make SOAP your first plan when you're applying a match. Like Morgan, you were asking, does anyone apply to just one? Applying to just one to me is saying that SOAP is your plan, and SOAP is nobody's plan.
Nope.
Because basically
Scramble.
you're looking through that packet of schools that didn't match and specialties that didn't match. and picking from what's left, more or less. So there's usually a lot of family medicine programs. There's usually a lot of internal medicine programs, maybe not a lot of internal medicine programs, but some internal medicine programs. You're not going to find those top tier specialties in there for the
No
most part.
derm. There's no
Yeah.
derm. Even if it's in the middle of nowhere, derm is taken, my friends.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying there aren't roads back to what you originally wanted to do,
Yes.
right? You could do 1 year in internal medicine. Through SOAP, you could try to match into 1 year of maybe internal medicine and then reapply in the match the next year into the specialty that you had originally wanted to participate in. So it's not,
So you can do multiple residencies.
yeah,
Okay. I mean, I know
it's
can
not,
do residency to fellowship, but oh, so you
it's
can be
not
a
ideal.
professional resident.
It's not ideal.
It's not ideal, but I have also seen students who successfully went through the match in a certain
Mhm.
specialty and decided a year, hopefully a year in, hopefully not 2 years in, that that is just not what they want to be doing. And so they go through the match again in a different specialty. Not ideal, but you got to, this is your life. So,
Yeah,
we don't want to spend 40 years hating what you do.
that's right.
Okay, so you review your application. Some of the stuff you're going to resubmit. You might redo your personal statement
Mhm.
based on if you're applying to a new specialty. Definitely have somebody read your personal statement. If you did not have someone read your personal
I
statement,
recommend Autumn Grad Missions.
another great plug.
1000%.
You might be reaching out to some faculty in that specialty that you maybe a new specialty you're applying to write you a letter in that specialty, someone who's maybe familiar with your work, your clerkship director, something like that. And you're putting together basically a new application in 2 days. I think the way that soap works now is Tuesday and Wednesday. I think you have all day Monday to submit your
I was gonna
application.
say, I think that's
Tuesday
right.
and Wednesday, you're interviewing.
Mhm.
Thursday is when you're finding out in those different rounds if you're accepted at any of those places. So you might get an invitation from a place round one saying, like, we would like to have you at your program. Hooray, you're done. You're accepting that. Don't wait for another program. Whoever offered in round one, maybe you got two offers. Hooray, let's choose between those. But if there's someone you're hoping for, you are not waiting for round two to see if
Right.
they offer it. You are accepting in round one. Maybe you get nothing in round one, so you wait for round two to see if you get any acceptances in round two, round three, round four. And so by the end of Thursday, you would know where you're going,
So
hopefully.
everything is done by Friday? Or
Everything's
can
done by
soap
Thursday
go?
evening. So
Okay.
then Friday at 11 Central Standard Time,
The
nationwide,
envelopes.
people get their envelopes. And then what happens, Logan?
So there's usually a countdown.
Mhm.
Schools do it differently, but I think
Yeah.
a common practice now is you get your envelope at maybe a couple minutes till 11,
Mhm.
and you are seated at a table with friends and family, and you look inside and it tells you where you'll be spending the next 3 to 7 years.
And those are those little signs you see people, I matched, this at
Yeah.
this. And that really is, they just found out. Like most of those people just found out that day. And so imagine, if you will, that you interviewed at 35 places across two different specialties.
Yeah.
All you know on Monday is yes or no. And then in real time, in front of all of your friends and family in a giant room of all of your med school classmates, staff, faculty, you you have to process that news in real time.
That's where the complicated feelings come in.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah, I overspoke saying everyone's excited because you do see where there's
Those are the people who
disappointment.
post it typically. Yeah.
Right. And that there are some of the, like here's a vulnerable look at my not match disappointment. So yes, to the complicated, sorry, Logan, to interrupt, but there's all parts of the spectrum, I feel like.
Yeah, well, and it's surprise and happiness, or confirmation of what you expected.
Mhm.
There's shock and fear that maybe you're up and moving across the country, even though you knew that that's possibly what you were signing up for, even if that's maybe what you wanted. It's an immediate, like, okay, between today and July, maybe even mid-June, I have to sell my house, find a new house, figure out what school my kids are going to go to, all of the things that potentially might happen, depending on your situation. And then there are certainly some students who are disappointed in maybe where they're ending up. I would venture a guess that most of those students end up being really happy with their experience. I think sometimes, you think you know what's best for yourself, and then life shows you otherwise. So I think it still works out for those students, but there's certainly that kind of range of emotion on match day.
Yeah. I just can't imagine in the law school space, everyone sitting together and opening their bar results together. That to me is like
Yeah,
the
for
equivalent. It's not
sure.
exactly, but like that feels the same. Can you imagine? Now the bar lists are public, but like at least you're like in
Yeah.
the privacy of your own home
You
if
can
you
be
didn't
at your
pass.
house. Yeah. That would be,
Yeah, yeah. So high stakes experiences. So if you're a person who is thinking about becoming a doctor or a lawyer, know that this like waiting game, results coming that could change your whole life situation that you're feeling with the MCAT or with the LSAT, it's not going away. Like it's here to stay with you for quite a long time. And so learning to manage those emotions around it is an important part of the process.
Our faculty used to mention that part of the expectation, instead of doing it the way they do match day now, where you all open your envelope at your individual table with your family and friends, they would go up one by one on a stage and read their results into a microphone.
Yes, they used to do that. I've heard stories.
I'm having flashbacks to having a pilot husband in the Air Force, and that's what they do. They get up there and then they put where they're going on the big screen.
That honestly makes sense. That
Yeah.
there's such a connection, I feel like, between like military structure and
Yeah.
medicine, I think stemming from decades and maybe even
Sure.
hundreds of years. But
And the love of acronyms. They share that.
yes, there's so much
Like, I can't
crossover.
keep up with these acronyms. But yes, and you would go, it was like the Friday nights, because, if anyone here is thinking about the military, you really don't go many cool places. The reason that they have bases where they do is because they're really cheap. So, you're there thinking, you know, there's not a lot going on. So you go to assignment night every Friday and they put it on this big screen and, all the things. So that's like the big exciting thing, is seeing where everyone's going.
So, Lizanne, you've done match day.
I have done match day for my personal self.
I really think it's very it has to be very similar. The feeling has to be very similar. And the
Yeah,
crossover makes sense, honestly. They're both life and death.
Yes, they
Not
are.
match day, but the professions.
for
Profession.
sure.
Yes.
They are. So it's serious
And
business. I
it
hope
is.
that if you didn't know what match was before now, that you have a little better understanding. If you're in med school and didn't know what match was, here you go. We're just going to break it down for you. We probably got a little more in the weeds just because we've seen this happen. We know what happens. Um, Soap is no one's first choice. And so I think if you're starting to look ERAS applications in the face in June, starting early, being realistic and applying broadly, I think that would be my takeaway. Logan, do you have takeaways?
Work with grad missions. Start as early as you
Yeah,
can.
I was gonna say.
Let us
That's my
help you build your activities and experiences so you can work smarter, not harder. I
yeah.
think it's fun.
And you don't have to be a former client of
Yeah.
ours.
Oh yeah, no, we
I
have
mean,
we have folks who come in and work with us in residency, who we didn't work with, but boy, it is so much easier when you did work with us. We also, Logan is so gracious when a med client starts their med school experience, you'll get a residency roadmap from us,
Yeah.
because we want you to come back and work with us, and we don't want to have a hard time doing it. We're making our life easier by making your life easier.
Well, folks, it's time to turn off the lights here in the pod loft, but the lights are always on in our emails and our socials. So email autumn@gradmissions.org or send us a DM on any of our socials. And we look forward to answering your questions and talking more on next episode. Thanks, guys.
Bye, y'all.